We did a lot actually last week, Corey, didn't we?
Yeah, we got through a lot of code.
Yeah, so when you open this, it's quite big. I'm actually going to just zoom out here for a second. I'm going to use my little minimize area because there's a lot going on. So just really quickly so that we can see this. And actually, we're going to need a bit of space because the first thing we're going to actually do today is tidy up a bit, basically. So we're going to be organizing our code a little bit more. We talked last week, Corey, about functions a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, and how they can organize our code and condense it.
Yeah, and we said what we wanted to do actually before last week was to have a function for each level. And when we were trying it out, it just wouldn't work for us, but we cracked it, right? So we have it working now. So we are going to go ahead and do that because from a coding point of view, if we're following proper etiquette and we do it properly, we should really use our functions more effectively than we have done. So we want to actually break up our functions for levels now. So the first thing we're literally going to do today with the code file, as far as we got to the end of last week, we're going to actually organize it. We're going to use our functions now to really tidy it up and make it a little bit nicer, I suppose, to use. And this will also be really useful if you decide after today, we're going to go as far as level 3 today, as you know. We stopped at level 2 last week and we asked you to think about level 3 for today. So we're going to stop at level 3 today. Level 3 is going to be our end goal. However, you might decide that you want to do more levels. So in that case, what we do today is really important in terms of a function for each level. Am I right, Corey?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a function for each level. So obviously, best thing to do is start at level 1. All right, so we're going to go into our advanced menu here. Remember, that's where we find our functions. So here's our functions tab, and we're going to make a function. I'm going to just zoom in slightly. Actually, that's a bit hard to see. We'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay, make a function here. And now we have function do something. So I'm going to type in level 1, okay? And click done. And there it is. Now, I zoomed out, so I'm going to just go back in a little bit, and I actually might close this off for a second, just so that we have loads of space to see everything. Okay, so we have level 1, and I actually might zoom in a little bit more, just to make sure everyone at home can see me. And again, don't forget to pause at any point, guys, when we're tidying this stuff up, just to make sure you don't want to leave any blocks behind, because then the whole program will have an error, and we have a lot going on here. So take your time, pause if you need, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to have our function for level 1. So if we go into our start level function, is what we used last week. The first thing we had was if current level equals 1, then we had this tile map. So we're going to grab that one out and we're going to pop that into level 1 first and foremost. Okay, now not only did we have the tile map, we also had the different parts of level 1, like we had our love hearts, we had our chicken bones, wasn't it, Corey?
Yeah.
And we had our placeholders for them, and we had our placeholder for bubbles actually for our character, our player as well. So they're actually, if you go down in that start level function, they're actually down the bottom. They're outside of our conditional statements, so outside of the blue, these bits underneath. So there's our love hearts from level 1. There's our chicken bone, and there's our placeholder for bubbles. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab basically them. They should all come together. Yep, perfect. And we're going to just go back up and bring this into our function for level 1. Okay. Look slowly now, try not to lose anything. Okay, perfect. Now you can see, this is why I was saying there's a lot going on. I'm going to zoom out a bit and I'm going to just tidy this up so we can see clearly. Okay, and now I'll go back in. Okay, so we have function level 1 and function start level now so far. So that's level 1. Now, if we want level 1 to work over here, Corey, we talked about this last week. This is just actually setting up our function. Remember, our function is just basically has a unit of code that we can reuse whenever we want. But to reuse it, Corey, what do we need to do?
We need to actually call our function.
Perfect. So in our start level function, our plan is, and this is going to be so much more organized, so when it's done now, you'll see, our plan is to say, if current level equals 1, then call level 1. Okay, because that makes complete sense. And it's going to mean that our start level function is it's always to do with just setting up the next level and getting us moving on to the next level, which is ideal. So we're going to go into functions now, and we're going to call on level 1. Okay? Happy enough, Corey?
Woo!
So I'm going to bring back in my simulator just to make sure that works. We seem okay. And here's level 1. Here's bubbles flying around. So I'm happy enough. Okay. So I'm going to just stop that for a second and I'm going to close this off again, just to give me a little bit more room. Okay, so that's level 1. So now we want to make a function for level 2. So that's what we did last week. Remember, we added in level 2 last week. So again, pause if you need to get level 1 set up and have your function ready to go and call it. And now let's go ahead and make another new function and this time call it level 2. Okay, so we're going into function, level 2, done. And I'm going to minimize for a second again because we're going to have loads going on. And we're going to bring that down in here. Okay. Perfect. And we'll zoom back in a little bit so we can see clearly now. Right, so level 2. So last week we said if current level equals 1, and then we put our code in. And then we had or else. And because we only had 2 levels last week, or else was obviously going to be level 2 because we only had 1 or 2. So there was only 2 options. So in that case, if and else was all we needed. But today we are going to be adding another level, aren't we, Corey?
Yeah, level 3.
Level 3, we're going to level up. So in that case, we're going to probably slightly change our conditional statement. But first of all, let's just tidy up our function for level 2. So let's go ahead and grab what's in else, basically, because else, remember, was level 2. So let's grab that and bring that out. And let's pop that in. Now I'm going to just read through this and check that we're happy with what's in our function for level 2. Because we have a feeling something's going to be missing here. So let's go down through it. So we had our level 2 background image. We had our tile map, and we changed our love hearts to be yellow. We changed our food actually to be our yummy. We created a kind called yummy, to be. I have a burger, but I think Corey, you might have had a strawberry last week.
Yeah, I had a strawberry.
Yeah, but if we compare, you were on a health buzz last week. So if we compare to last week, we're missing this, and this is actually important, Corey, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's where bubbles start.
Yeah, and in level 2, remember, we want bubbles to start back at that initial placeholder on our tile map that we created. So actually, what you're going to need to do, guys, is for your level 2 function, go down and underneath your yummy, okay, which is whatever you had here, we're going to just have to make sure bubbles placeholder is there too. So obviously, the quickest way to do this is to right-click on that and click duplicate, and voila. We just literally are going to pop that in underneath now. So now we have our love heart, our food, our yummy, and we have our placeholder for bubbles, which is going to be level 2. Happy enough, Corey?
Yeah, that looks good.
So again, that's, remember really clearly when we're coding, that's just us defining our function and setting up what our function is. But to use it, we have to call it, yeah? So let's go back across and let's see. So start level, you can see now, it's beautiful. It's so nice and condensed, which is what we want, why functions are great. Because we can literally just leave those functions to the side now. We don't need to go back to them because that's done. And down here now, we can say, okay, if current level equals 1, then call level 1, we're happy. Or else, now remember what we said, today we're not going to just have 2 options, we're going to have 3. So what we're going to have to do is hit this little plus sign. And we have else if. So Corey, what do we want to say in here?
Well, we want to say else if our current level is equal to 2, then call level 2.
Perfect. So again, guys, you could drag out the blocks and all, but for speed, we might just duplicate this, but just be careful what you're clicking because there's lots of blocks that have been put in here. So I'm going to click on the kind of sideways diamond and just right click there and duplicate. So pause now if you need to go ahead and do that if you've done your level 2 function and now you're getting set up for your conditional statement in your start level. Okay, so I'm going to now bring that up and let that go in there. And as Corey said, we're saying if current level is 1, then call level 1. Else if current level equals, and we're going to change that to 2. And now very simply then call level 2.
Woo!
Perfect. Now today we're obviously going to be saying or else if it's not level 1 and it's not level 2, well then our only option in our game is going to be level 3 because we're going to finish on level 3 today. Am I right, Corey? So we're going to put that in there. However, if you want it at home, because you know you've got a really good idea of what we're doing, you're going to see a lot of duplication today and we're going to repeat a lot of stuff we've done in the previous webinars. So you now have a really good idea of levels and what you can do. So if you wanted, you could keep clicking plus here and you could go level 3, level 4, level 5. You can keep building, okay? But we're going to leave it as else because actually the last option for us is going to be level 3. So else will be your last option. Okay. So I'm going to leave that there because obviously to use that, we're going to need a level 3. But before I do that, I want to check my code because we know that's really important. So if you need to pause and get this ready now, perfect. I'm going to go in here to my game and I'm going to check and see that it works. So here we go, Corey. So we should see we've called level 1 and level 2 now. So our functions have been made. So let's check. Flying along. Flying. This is it. We love the little arms popping out. Okay, woo. Okay, we're into level 2. Happy days.
And see bubbles start
at the hearts.
Because that's where you put her.
Yeah. Say again.
Bubbles started at the start of level 2 because of our placeholder. That's why that pink placeholder was so important there for level 2 function.
Perfect. And you see there, bubbles overlapped with the tree. And remember, our code for overlapping with the tree is to change level by 1, which the game will do. But there is no other option for the game. It doesn't know what to do at level 3 because remember in here, we've only told it what to do if current level is 1 and current level is 2. So that's where now we need to set up our current level 3. Oh yeah? So let's go ahead and create our function. So I'm going to zoom out again because we've loads of functions here. And I'm going to actually just kind of move these up here for a second. And I'm going to go ahead in here and I'm going to create, I'm going to actually bring this underneath. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my function for level 3. We're flying it. So remember to pause now if you need to. And for your home challenge, we asked you to think about level 3, to get planning, and think about what your tile map's going to be, what your background image is going to be, and also think about maybe different sprites or different types of parts of the game. All right. So for our level 3, we had an idea, Corey, didn't we? But it was actually based on what someone said in the Q&A last week. Do you want to explain what our first initial background image is going to be? It was inspired by someone who was watching in last week.
Yeah, someone said last week that next week, which is this week, they said next week we find Rocky in space.
Yeah.
So we thought, let's draw space then as our background image. It was a really creative idea.
Yeah, really cool. So let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be our background image. So we're going to go into scene. And we are going to set background image 2. So I'm going to grab that one out and pop that in. And I'll zoom in a bit here, guys. All right, so we're happy. So this is our function, remember, level 3. And obviously, first thing we're going to do is set our image. It's going to click in here. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit because I know it can be hard to see. All righty. Okay, so first thing we are going to do is we're going to set the color. So I think I'll go with a kind of dark blue, nearly navy. Initially, okay, so kind of for the space. And then I think I'm going to do, remember at home, you guys can do what you want here. And Corey's going to be different to mine because she did hers already. But I'm going to do 3 planets. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do Mars, Earth, and Saturn, okay? So I'm going to go and get my circle and I'm going to do Mars first. So that, don't they call it the red planet? So I'll go ahead and do Mars first. So I'm just going to do that there. Okay, and I'm going to get my fill tool and I'm going to fill that in. And then maybe to be creative, I'll just add a few little dots of orange like this.
That's what mine's like.
Ah, there you go. Inspired. Okay, perfect. So that's Mars. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do Earth next. So now if you wanted to do these, if you want to do a bit of space research at home and do these to scale, Earth is bigger than Mars, okay? But these are not going to be to scale, right? But if you wanted to really do your research into space, and maybe you already know a lot about space and the planets, Earth's a bit bigger than Mars. So I'll make it maybe, but again, it's actually bigger than that. But sure, look, science teacher in me is going to have to block that out and just move on. So I'm going to fill that one, and then that's the water on Earth, and I'm going to go ahead and draw. Now, bear with me on this one. So you'll see how we get on. We'll try do a little mini Ireland there in England, and then got Europe. It's very close, but sure, look. Okay. Now, right, and I'll try close it off because I want to use my fill tool to speed up things here. Hopefully that's closed and we don't. Yes. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Right, ideal. And we might just put a little bit down here. Just to be very picky about it. Okay, perfect. Right, so there's Earth, and then the final one I want to do is Saturn. So I'll go ahead and do Saturn. Saturn is big, and much bigger than these. Again, we won't be able to do this to scale because it's so big. So I'll just do. Do you know what? I'm actually going to undo that. I'm going to move it across a bit. I'm being very picky here, Corey. Sorry.
No, looks good. I'm loving it.
Okay, right. And we're going to fill that. And Saturn has the rings. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to grab orange and I'm going to grab my pencil. And I'm actually just going to increase the size of my pencil here. Now you guys can be drawing whatever you want here. Remember, we're just going with the space theme because we were inspired by someone's suggestion last week. Okay. And then I might just do a few kind of dots like this around the place just for like stars. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. Lovely. Right. So now when we're done, when we're happy, when you're happy, click done, obviously. And we have that done. Now I want to see if that is working. I want to just check that my background image does change. But obviously to see that, I need to call on my function, don't I?
Yes.
So I'm going to go into functions and I'm going to call level 3. And I'm going to put that in here where it's else. So remember, if it's 1, then it's the level 1. If it's 2, level 3, or sorry, level 2, and then or else we have no other option. It's going to have to be level 3 for our game. Okay. So really quickly, we might just check that, and I'll play it in a minute. We'll do the hack version where we just set the level to be 3. But very quickly, I just want to just check the whole thing works here. So bear with me for a second as I get bubbles to fly through. And okay, so level 2, flying it.
I love when she puts her arms out.
Oh God, I nearly. Okay, now there we go. But it's not what we want it to be yet, isn't it? Not, Corey.
No.
So we need to because the tile map isn't right and she's not placed in a certain area, etc., etc. So we need to go and sort all that. But I'm happy that it's moving and the functions are being called when they're meant to be called. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our tile map, guys. So I'm going to go into scene and we're going to set our tile map for our level 3. Okay. And we're going to click in here. Now, Corey, today's one is going to be, we're going to get her kind of to go up, aren't we? So I'm going to kind of work her way up the level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the height. So down here, guys, in the bottom left corner where we have the pixels, we've 16 by 16, remember, is what it's automatically. We're going to change the image height. Corey, what do you suggest here?
Let's go with 30.
I'm going to go 30. I'm going to click out and there we go. So it's nice. Like, happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to get bubbles to start basically down kind of here and work her way all the way up. Remember, she can climb now. So work her way all the way up to the end goal. And the end goal today for us in our game is going to be that the game has been won because we're stopping today at level 3. That's going to be the end. For you guys, it might be overlap with the tree and into the next level. But for us, it's going to be the end goal. And Corey, what is the end goal?
The end goal is when we find Rocky and overlap with Rocky.
Yeah. So Rocky is Corey's dog, for those of you that don't know. So she's always trying to find Rocky. Okay. So that's the end goal, is to get to Rocky, right? So let's go ahead and build. So I'm going to go into my tiles. We're going to use the tiles we've been using for our whole game. And it's doing that because I have the middle one selected here for my last thing. So I'm going to go back to my singular one. It should work. There we go. Okay. So Corey, we're going to start. Bubbles going to start around here. We're going to get her to kind of jump maybe a little bit. Looks and good. Maybe jump again to here. And then we are going to get her to climb. What you think?
Yep, definitely.
And then when she climbs, she needs to be able to kind of get to here and then jump across. So we might give a gap of, we'd advise maybe a gap of 2 there. What you think?
Yeah, because I don't know if she can fit through just the one gap.
Yeah, so, but she could jump pretty good now at this point. So I think we're happy enough. So we'll go there, and then a gap of 1 to get to there, and then we'll go up. And now we're also going to leave a few gaps because today Corey's going to show you how you can do projectiles, which is really cool. And we're going to get them to kind of move in the gaps, aren't we?
Yeah, it's really cool.
We're gonna get you, if you can do this, leave a gap so that the projectile can move up through gaps. So I might put one there and I might leave one here, for example. What do you think, Corey? And maybe there.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then up. And now we're nearly there. Give a gap of 2 for it to jump across. And a gap there, maybe. And there, say that's it. So Rocky's going to be here. We're going to be using placeholders shortly. Bubbles is going to be here. So we're going to use our placeholders that we need to use. So Bubbles, remember, was the pink placeholder. So we want Bubbles to start here. Okay. We also had our hearts, which were in red. So we changed the colors of them, but the placeholder was red. So we might do one on the way up here. We might do one here. We might do loads here, Corey. What do you think?
Yeah, and then make Bubbles jump down into the
yeah, like, down here and get them. And she can climb back out, sure. So we're not trapping her.
Yeah,
this isn't a trap. Okay, one more heart there at the end. Okay, and then with our whatever we decide for Yummy, we can place here, maybe here. This is our points. Remember, this gathers points for us.
Yeah, so we want a good few of them if we want to get the high score.
A couple here at the end when you're just about to get to Rocky. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah.
Okay, so just when you're doing this at home, guys, would you just make sure, because we're going to do projectiles, key thing is obviously have your placeholders in, make sure there's gaps, and make sure that for the projectiles, and make sure that you have your placeholders where you need them. They don't have to be exactly like mine, but that they're all included. Bubbles ones, the hearts, the Yummy, and then Corey's going to show you the others. Now, there's one more thing I have to do, because right now my tile map, these aren't actually walls yet. So my last thing is to click on my walls and highlight that. So while I'm doing that, if you guys need to pause and finish out your own, because I think everyone knows how to do walls now, I'm going to really quickly just make sure Bubbles doesn't fall through any of these. Don't leave any behind. And then we shall keep going from there. Okay.
And then we'll test this out and see if it works, will we?
Yeah, good idea. Always good to test. Okay, done. So I can see everything's walls. Done. Set tile map. Okay, ideal. Now we might just use the quick way of doing this, Corey, will we?
Yeah, this is my favorite hack.
Yeah, so we're going to go back to our on start block. God knows where that is. Look at all the code. Okay, zoom out a bit. There it is. And we're going to set current level to be 3, so that we just automatically go to level 3 for a second, just for testing purposes. And we will refresh. Okay, so we have to, that's okay. This is here because we haven't actually told what is on the placeholder. So Corey's going to do that now, aren't you? But we're happy that we have our background image. We have the tile map laid out the way we want. So I'll just quickly move along and just double check.
Perfect.
Yep, perfect. Bubbles hasn't been placed at the end. That's the problem. So we'll sort all that now with the next part. Okay, so Corey, do you want to bring everyone through building on that level 3 now?
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's do it. Okay, so I have here just what Amanda has been doing. So the background image and the tile map, okay? But exactly what Amanda said there, when she went to level 3, you could only just see the placeholders. You could only see orange and red, okay? But what we want to do now is we actually want to make them something on level 3, okay? So like we did last week, what I'm going to want you to do is come over to level 2 here. And we actually just want to duplicate our red tile, our orange tile, and our placeholder, okay? So let's click on the 4 element here, just at your red tile, and right click and duplicate. And let's bring it over here. Oh, there we go. So let's bring it over, and this time, what color should I make the hearts on level 3, Amanda? What do you think?
Maybe we'll do like a light blue or something. Remember, I suppose our background scene is dark blue. So
yeah.
Something that's like a lighter color that can be seen. Whatever you think.
Yeah, something that stands out.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Do like I just noticed there, you could even do like a multicolored heart.
Ah, great. Yeah.
That'd be super creative. You can do that at home. So when I go to level 3 now, wherever there's a red placeholder, there is going to be a blue heart. Okay, so now I'm going to want to do the same for my Yummy. Okay, so my orange tile. So I had a strawberry last week. So what I want you to do now is just right click and duplicate that and bring it across to your level 3 function. Okay. And I'm going to pop this in here underneath the green. Okay. Now, what do we think for level 3 this week? What will we go with?
you're on your health buzz. We'll go with like an ice cream or something because it's extremely good weather.
Yes,
So,
actually, good idea.
yeah.
It might make it sunny again. Okay, so my level 3 now, wherever there's an orange tile map or an orange placeholder, there is going to be an ice cream. And the last thing that we need to do that's really important to remember is we actually need our pink placeholder for bubbles. Okay, so I'm going to right click on my pink placeholder. I'm going to duplicate it and bring it over to my level 3 function. Okay, so I'm going to
what was wrong with my game there was because we didn't have any of that, wasn't it? So all we were seeing were those tiles that we placed. We didn't know what to put on those tiles.
Yeah, so now what we're after doing is we're after actually putting something on those tiles, okay? So what I'll do here is, there is my level 3 function. So if you want to pause me real quickly and just make sure that you have all of these in. And I'm just going to double check that I've actually called my level 3 function before I test it. And how I do that is I go to my start level function, which again, there it is there. Okay, so I have called level 3. Now, real quickly, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the hack that Amanda done. So I'm going to set my current level to 3, just so I can test it out. Just let's see if it's working. Woohoo!
Ideal.
Okay, so that actually looks really, really cool. So brilliant. I have my blue love hearts. I have my ice cream. The flies are still chasing me. They're not giving me a break. And I have my lovely background. Now, one thing that someone just said there in the Q&A is, can we have a look at projectiles a little bit more? So I think that's actually a really good idea, because I don't think we have any projectiles in this game yet.
No.
So let's go ahead and create a projectile. Okay, and this is the same as what we've been doing the past couple of weeks. Okay, so there's nothing new here. What I need to do first of all is I actually need to create a placeholder for that projectile. So let's go into our tile map for level 3 and go into my tiles, and we need a new tile now. Okay, so what I done earlier on is I just went ahead and I pressed the plus button and I actually created a white tile, but you can do it whatever color you want. It can be purple if you want. Okay, so I'll say that my white tile, okay, I'm going to place them in my tile map. So put one here, 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 and here. And watch carefully where I put them, okay, because see, I'm putting them where there's gaps. So the projectile is actually going to start on the white tile and it's going to shoot up, okay? So that's why Amanda was saying to leave a gap. And I'm actually just going to erase this for a second. Okay, so once you have your white tiles in your tile map, let's go ahead and actually create something to go on that white placeholder, okay? So I'm going to press done. And I'm going to come down here and I'm actually going to need another 4 element. Okay, so let's go into loops, and in loops we can see 4 element value of list, and that's the one that we've used so many times. So let's take this out and pop it underneath the green here. Now we know that it's not a list that we're after, it's an array. So let's go into scene and let's take out array of all locations. And we're going to pop this in instead of list. Now, what tile location are we after? We're after the white
there, didn't you? Yeah.
Exactly, the white one. And then I actually want to create a new sprite on that white tile. Okay, so let's go into sprites and let's take out the first block of code, set my sprite. Okay, and let's bring it down and pop it into our loop there. Now, I'm going to press a little arrow and I'm actually going to rename this. So I'm going to rename my variable and I'm going to call it fireball, okay? And I'm actually going to draw it out here. I'm going to make it look like a fireball. Well, I'm going to try to. Okay, so I'm going to keep it kind of small-ish. So I don't want it to be too big, so it'll be hard to avoid then. And then what I'll do is I'll put some orange in it and some yellow and a little bit of blue in the center to show that's really hot. Okay, so I think that looks all right. I'm happy enough with that. Now, one thing that we need to do here is we need to change it from player to projectile. Okay, and now what do we want to do? Okay, well, we want to make sure that we're placing the fireball on all of the tile maps that are, all the placeholders that are white. Okay, and we've done this before. loads of times. So let's go into scene and let's take out this block of code here. Place my sprite on top of tile map column row. Okay, so let's take this out and let's pop it in here. And we're going to change my sprite to fireball. And we're going to change this to value, okay? Remember, if I take this down and I can pop it in here. And that means that my fireball is going to be on top of my value. And what is my value? It's my white tile. And another thing that we want to do is we actually don't want to be able to see that white tile. We want to make it see-through or transparent. So let's go back into scene and let's take out this block here. So set see-through at tile map. And we're going to pop this in here. And again, I don't want this block, I want value.
So we've done this a good few times now, Corey. So people should be able to see like where the logic is staying the same, but we're just changing up what exactly is being placed at different parts.
Exactly. So like you can go ahead now, like you have all the knowledge and skills to know how to do as many of these as you want. Like you could be there all day creating different arrays of placeholders. So let's have a look. Let's test this. I still think I'm current level 3. Perfect. So I don't have to go through level 1 and level 2 to get to level 3. That's my little hack. But I will do a full game at the end to see how many points I get. So let's have a look at what these fireballs actually look like. And if I jump up, okay, I know. Okay, there's one there. They're not very exciting looking, are they?
No, we want them to move a bit, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to animate mine. So remember with our animations, how we actually got that little option there is we went into extensions and we added it in, okay? And then once you add it in, you'll have this category. So I'm going to go into animations. And we've worked with this first one before. And we've done that one with our hearts. But now we're actually going to take the second block of code and we're going to bring that in and just put it underneath the navy blue there. Now, I don't want to animate Rocky. I want to animate the fireball, don't I?
Yeah.
And I don't want it to fly to the center because remember what we said? We said that we wanted to go up, okay? That's why we left the gaps in the tile map. So let's click on that arrow and let's choose ease up. And I'm going to leave it at 2 seconds, but you can play around with that and see what you would like. And then I'm going to loop it. Okay, so now I'm just going to test it and see what it looks like because I want to make sure I'm happy with it. So let's do this, bubbles. I'm trying to get away from that fly, and I have my ice cream and my heart. And there, now we can see that the fireball is actually moving up. But there's one more thing that I can do to actually make it look a little bit cooler, and that's I can actually set an effect on the fireball. Okay, so what I can do is I can go into sprites and see in effects here, my sprite starts spray effect. Well, let's bring this out and pop it in underneath your animation block. And again, my sprite is going to be the fireball. And I don't want a spray effect. I'm going to go with fire. What do you think? I think that would actually look really cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit scary, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Right. One last time, I'm going to see if I'm happy with this fireball. And this is what happens when you're coding. You know, you have to check things like a couple of times. So every time you do maybe a little bit of code, it's good to check to see if you're happy with it. And then you can just keep making it better and better. That looks so cool now.
Brilliant.
That looks
and
so
if you go
much
up
better.
further, you're going to see more, aren't you? Because it's going to come up towards you. It's going to be kind of, yeah.
Exactly.
But Corey, what about, like, we want this to kind of maybe be a danger. It's a projectile. So generally, there's got to be, it has to play a part, doesn't it? So we probably want this to affect our game somehow if Bubbles touches off the fire, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, because there's no point to just having them there for like added effect. Let's actually give them a purpose in the game, okay? And how we can do that is we can use like an overlap. So we've used overlaps loads of times, and this time it's going to be a sprite overlap. So let's go into sprites and let's take out, go to overlaps and take out this block of code here. And then who's overlapping with who here? Well, the player can say the same, can't it, Amanda? So yeah, it's Bubbles overlaps with what though?
The projectile, isn't it?
The projectile, yeah. So if Bubbles touches off that fireball, because remember our fireball is a kind of projectile, well then I think we should lose a life.
Yeah, I think so, because we're getting plenty of chances to gain lives. So really, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think so too.
It does add to the game, though. It definitely makes it a little bit harder. So you might need to play around with speed or
a little bit more challenge. And like even like you might want to say change life by -2. I remember saying at the start, I had the flies taking away 3 lives on me and I couldn't win the game. I couldn't get anywhere. So it's just about kind of finding something that works. So that even might be too easy. If you're getting too many lives, you don't want it to be too easy either. So you can even have that as -2. So one last thing we can do is we need our end goal, and we said our end goal was going to be Rocky. So let's go back into our tile map because we have to create a placeholder for Rocky now. So I'm going to click in here and I have a black tile that I haven't used yet, okay? But again, you can click on the plus button and you can create a new color, whatever color you want. But I'm going to take this black tile and I'm going to put it at the very end, just there. And then I'm going to press done. And now I know that I just have to go to the bottom and take out another one of these 4 loops, okay? So let's go into loops. You'll be sick of seeing these by the end. I told you we were going to be doing these loads of times. 4 elements of value. And we know we don't want list, we want an array.
And people could duplicate this, Corey, but sometimes when you do that, you might get a bug because there's bits and bobs you haven't changed. So it might be easier just to actually go from the beginning and logically think. Exactly.
Sometimes I do find it a lot easier just to go from the beginning because sometimes it can be hard then to change and manipulate all the things that you have to change. So, and I think it's good as well because then you kind of start to know things off by heart and you could do it in your sleep. So watch, I'll say that now and I'll do something wrong. So what I'm after saying there is I want my value to be a black placeholder, okay, a black tile. And on that black tile, I want to create a sprite. So let's go into sprites and I'm going to set my sprite. And this time we're going to create Rocky. Woohoo! Delighted with myself. Okay, so I don't think I have, I actually do have a variable called Rocky. Of course I do. So I don't even have to, I'm just going to rename it, but I don't even have to type anything because it's already here. And I am going to, I could go ahead and draw a dog, but I'm actually going to go.
You wouldn't do Rocky justice, I don't think, Corey.
Exactly, I wouldn't do him justice. So I know in the gallery there's a lovely dog, so I'm going to click on them and press done.
Ah, very nice.
Now, Rocky is not the player, so we need to make sure we change this kind. And I'm going to change the kind goal. But you can add a new kind. You can call it finish line or anything you want, okay? Add a new kind and make sure you call it something, okay? So Rocky is my end goal. Now, we need an overlap, don't we, Amanda?
Yeah.
So we actually need bubbles to overlap with kind goal to win the game.
And I suppose it's important to say if people are doing more than 3 levels, remember, goal is the end of your whole game. So for us, it's today and level 3. You might decide to actually save the code we're doing now for a function called level 6 because level 6 is your end goal. So that's up to you to decide what your tile map end goal is going to be. It could be the tree still and you could go up a level and you could keep building, or you can do it like we're doing today, which is level 3 is our end goal.
Exactly. So you could just keep going, okay? But for when you do finally decide to end your game, this is the code that you're going to use, okay? So we're going to go into sprites because we're looking for an overlap of sprites. And here it is here. And it's if the player, who's Bubbles, overlaps with the goal, we can say game and go game over win. Woo! With confetti, I think. Now, I am going to play the game. Let's see how many points I can get. All right, see if you can beat it at home as well. So I'm going to
go from level 1.
I'm going to go from level 1. So I'm going to set my current level back to 1. And I am going to maximize. And let's do this. And if anyone hasn't done that before, it's this button here. That's how you maximize your game. Okay, here we go. I feel like we should have some like.
Yeah, so people might, the key thing is here now, guys, by the end of the day, we've done a multi-level game with 3 levels, but remember, you can do as many as you want. It could be different players, it can be different backgrounds. You now, hopefully, if you save the code up to today, you have a template there that you can reuse and change. And we'd love to know, like I was saying to Corey, maybe each level could be a country, or, you know, there's lots of cool ideas people have been telling us. So we'd love to see what your different levels are. It might not be what we have here. Okay, here we go. We're into our final level. You have to get to Rocky.
That's good. That's
not too bad, but watch out for the flies and the fireballs.
I know. I feel like I really need to win here. I'm going to go and get those lives.
Yeah, definitely get those lives.
20 lives. I'd be due. Oh, Rocky. What? Let me have a look. I obviously didn't place Rocky on the thing, did I? These are probably
yes.
At home. I just got so excited. Okay, so that was my fault. I got carried away with the game. So I actually never placed Rocky on top of that black tile.
All the steps.
And didn't I tell you? I said, watch, I'll do something wrong now. I can do it in my sleep. So what we needed to do is we needed to go into scene, and we needed to place our sprite on top of the value. So place Rocky. Place Rocky on top of the value, because our value is our black tile. And then we needed to make sure that we couldn't see the black tile, because we actually could see it there.
Maybe check your tile map, Corey, make sure your black tile didn't move there, because Rocky seems to be floating around.
Yeah, he's having the time of his life. Okay, let me just check my tile map, make sure I'm happy with it. Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
All good. Okay, will I go again, or will I do the
hack? Do the hack, sure, do the hack. Yeah.
Do the hack, yeah. I was on, what did I say? I was on 12 points, I can see it. So let me just go over here and go to level 3. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth.
Let's see if we can win the game at last.
Although, if I start at level 3, I'm not going to have that many lives, but sure. I have faith in myself.
I have too. You're pretty good at these games.
Okay. Oh no. Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
You've loads to get. If you can just get over to that far side where you can gather loads of them. Yeah. There.
Get all these lives before that fly gets me. Yeah. Woohoo! Okay. 13 lives. You should be able
over to the fly. You'll be all right.
Okay.
Those fireballs look pretty.
So many fireballs.
Yeah, they look really good.
Okay. Here we go.
Yes, finally.
Okay, now I'm just on top of them, so that's why that didn't work yet. I literally lost in the 9th hour. Okay, so that is our game, and I'm pretty happy with it. I really, really like it, and I'm actually sad to see the back of it, but I'm sure that yous will be continuing. Yous will probably have level 4, 5, and 6. But don't forget, all of the code and everything will be on our home space files. Okay, so. Okay, that's the end of that game, but it's not the end of the webinars, because next week we are actually starting a new game, okay? But before we do that, you actually are going to have a home challenge for this game that we just completed, okay? So we want you to add something extra to your game, okay? A final element. So for example, if I was doing it, I might create like a bonus box, okay? And like, I have to think, okay, well, what is even the purpose of that bonus box? What's going to happen when I overlap with it? Well, maybe I go to a bonus level, or maybe I get like 100 points. It's completely up to you. And remember, you know how to animate blocks now. So you could animate your sprite. You don't even have to only have 1. You can have 3 if you want. It's completely up to you. But what me and Amanda want you to do is we actually want you to just add a little bit extra to your game, okay? Something special that makes the game unique to you. So bye everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.